Hi. All right, let's there we go. That is me. Hi, thank you for water. It's Vegas. Everybody is probably super dehydrated. Yeah? You guys drinking enough water? Anybody have an upper respiratory infection yet? You will. I'm going to open up with contact information. This is how you can find me if you want to talk more, if you want to learn more about me. My Instagram is up there. My website is up there. My educational website is up there too. Go to town. I do not mind if you take pictures of any of these slides. That is totally fine. For those of you who were here in my master class yesterday, some of this will be a little bit of what you learned already. We talked about the business of wedding photography, and we went over everything from pricing to packaging to marketing to handling inquiries. But I'm here today to talk to you solely about marketing, right? Because that's the big question. You've been sitting here for a day. We have a ton of classes on shooting and posing and lighting, but you can be the greatest photographer in the entire world. And if you can't get clients in the door, then you basically have a hobby. You don't have a business. So I want to talk to you about the things that I have been doing to get clients in the door and how I continue to stay relevant, get people from booking me all the way to staying happy with me. And I'm going to try to do about 2 hours of information in about 45 minutes, so this is going to be fun. If you have any questions, please hold them to the very end. I will take some if I can. Otherwise, I'll just hang out over there for a few minutes, and you are welcome to come ask me anything you'd like. So, what marketing really comes down to is getting new inquiries in the door. And I don't spend any money on marketing. I am not listed on any websites that require me to pay them. I'm not on the Knot. I'm not on Wedding Wire. I don't go to wedding expos. I don't pay for advertising. The only things that I do are things that will directly connect me with clients. And I've found in my market, with my abilities, with my way that I do or don't like to interact with people, paid listings don't work for me. Wedding expos don't work for me. I have lots of friends who have great success with both. So I'm going to talk to you up here about what I do. It might work for you, it might not. The biggest thing that you can take away from everything that you learn here at This Week at WPPI is we're all speaking from our own experiences. There is nothing that anyone is going to tell you that is the way you have to do things, other than like maybe back up your images after a shoot, like, stuff like that. But I'm going to tell you what I do to get new inquiries in, and then how I convert them into paying clients. So, the number one way that my clients find me is Google. They Google me. And I'm not saying that they get on Google and look for Susan Stripling photography. They get on Google and look for things like New York wedding photographer, or Park Chateau wedding photographer, or best wedding photographer in Brooklyn. Right? Like all of the things that if you put yourself in the shoes of a potential wedding client, when they're going to Google to look for their wedding photographer, what are they typing in? They're not typing in your name. They're doing generic search terms. And it's funny, I've heard so many people say, you can't book high-end weddings, which is a phrase I don't like anyhow, because what does that even actually mean? You can't book high-end weddings from Google. If you are a more expensive photographer, you can't book people from Google. You absolutely hands down can. And I have years of data because, of course, I track all of that because, if you've ever met me, you know I love a spreadsheet. And I know that half of my clients are finding me by search terms they're typing into Google. My website is the number one best thing I've got going for me. And why? Why my website versus Instagram? Why am I putting all of my effort into my online presence instead of my Facebook or TikTok or whatever the 12-year-olds are doing these days? I own my website. They could take away my Instagram tomorrow, right? I don't own my Instagram. I don't own any of my social media, but my website is mine. The content is evergreen. It will always be mine. So all of my effort goes here. The reason why I perform well on Google, I'm going to give you a very brief overview of it because I learned my SEO information from someone else. This is not my info to give. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview. I'll tell you where to go get more if you want. You know how probably every 2 or 3 days you get an email from an SEO company that's telling you like, we've analyzed your website and we've determined that you're not ranking for your top 10 keywords, so hire us for your SEO. I am telling you, do not do that. Because I have worked with other marketing companies under various other things that I've done. No one is going to understand your business quite like you will. We do weird things in a weird niche industry. Don't just randomly hire a company and tell them to do SEO for you. Because if you don't know what content you want to put on your website, how is some marketing company supposed to know that for you? Everything that's written on my website was written by me. All of the content was created by me. My portfolio is curated by me. The only thing that somebody else does for me for my website, I have a venue directory. And at the end of each venue, one of the things it says is like, why do I like working at this venue? I work with a copywriter on that because it's a lot of writing and I have run out of time. But everything that I do is done by myself. And I think that that's hugely important because as with all aspects of your business, you can't outsource something to someone else until you really know how to do it yourself. Does that make sense? Because otherwise you don't know if what they're doing for you is right or wrong. You just know that maybe it's not working and you don't know why. So when I am writing for my website, and I highly recommend go to my website, dig around. I do not mind. You can hunt through it. You'll see a lot of articles and a lot of pages that are written. They're not written for SEO. I'm not putting anything on my website that's meant to trick Google or, get Google to find me in some sort of like black hat kind of way. I'm writing content that Google wants to see. So let's say that someone goes to the Google, as they do, and they type in best New York wedding photographer. Google thinks, okay, there are 8 million New York wedding photographers, give or take. Let's quickly look through these websites and see which one is the most informational for people, and that's how they're going to serve up their results. So I actually do rank on the first page for New York wedding photographer, and that's not an accident. So the content that I'm writing on my website is partly because I know that Google is going to rank me high, but it is most to help my clients and potential clients, to give them information that they need. The person that I have learned all of my SEO from is a gentleman named Rob Greer. I'm not here to pitch for him, but he is who I learned from. I'm not trying to get out of talking about SEO. I just learned it from him. The other thing that I do about my website that I think helps me stay fresh, helps me stay relevant, helps people trust me, is I update it a lot. Have you ever gone to somebody's website and you're like, wow, this picture of you is from like 1996? And the content on your site seems kind of old. I'm always in there. I'm always updating it. I still blog. I know that's kind of an archaic thing to do, but I do blog. And I don't blog for SEO. I blog so that potential clients can see how much I'm still working. And I update my site often. Probably every 2 months or so, I am getting new images and I am putting new images on my website. I update my About Me page. I make sure that my picture is current. I make sure that the information about me is current. Potential clients want to see that you aren't a business that just put up an online storefront and then walked away. They want to see that you're staying current with trends. They want to say that you're seeing inclusive. They want to say that you are active. And so I'm always updating it, and that does help me with clients who find me via Google. Another thing that also really works for me is to make sure that the portfolio on my website is very tightly curated. Every single picture that is up there for a reason, and it's in a specific order for a specific reason. So if you go to my website, these are the first 12 pictures that you see that come up. None of these are an accident. It is not random. It is not arbitrary. I want to make sure that people can see that my work is dramatic, that it's slightly theatrical, that I use interesting lighting, that I have interesting compositions, that there is great connection between all of my subjects, that you've got moments, you've got a pet, you've got a dramatic portrait, you've got these sweet things going on, and I'm constantly churning and shifting and adding and re-adding and making sure that I have new content near the top. So if you haven't put a single new picture on your website in a year, go shake it up, add new images, and make sure that the first images that people see will keep them on your site and make them want to keep scrolling. Because if I can't catch someone's interest in the first 12 pictures, they're never going to look at what else is on the rest of my website. I shouldn't have to say this, and yet I do. Make it easy for people to get in touch with you and know where you are. I can't tell you the number of times I've gone to photographers' websites and had no idea where they were based. So on my contact page, I realize this is kind of small, I have every single way that you can possibly contact me, including my address and where I'm at. And I have looked at some of my competitors' websites on, that are New York photographers, and nowhere on their site says New York photographer. How do you know where they're based? So yes, on my contact page, I do have a contact form. I'm not that old. But I have all of the other ways that people can find me, including where I'm located. The other reason that my website converts well on Google and gets clients to contact me and trust me is that I use my website to become a trusted source of information. Let me explain what you're seeing here. I write a lot of stuff for my site. If there is something that I have written in an explanation email to a client at any point ever, I think, could this be a page on my website that would be helpful to them? So if you go to my site and you start digging, you find the information that you need first and foremost right away. But if you want to learn more, there are abilities to deep dive and deep dive further into more and more information. So for example, if you go to info and frequently asked questions, and you pick wedding photography, and you pick wedding planning tips, I have information for you. Under wedding day timeline, I have about 6 or 7 different sample timelines for different types of wedding days. Under getting ready, I talk about what are getting ready photos, why would you want them? Tips to make your getting ready photos great. How long does this usually take? What do I usually shoot? How should you clean your room? How should you prepare? So I use this information partly to share with existing clients, but partly so that potential clients can see these pages on my site and say, whoa, she really knows what she's talking about, and she really cares about making sure that we have the best experience on our day, including how to get the most out of each part of the day. If you decide instead of looking at wedding planning tips, you want to look at additional articles, number 1, from the internet, questions to ask your wedding photographer. Has anybody ever gotten sent that questionnaire from like The Knot? That's like questions to ask your wedding photographer before you book them, and there's like 50 of them. And the questions are like, do you shoot infrared? And you're like, no. I never want to answer those because the questions are kind of weird and they're a little old and like it hasn't been updated in forever. But every once in a while, I do get sent that questionnaire. I actually took a day and I sat down and I answered every single question in depth. And I put it on my site. So now if someone emails me and they're like, hey, I have this questionnaire, I'm like, here you go, here are the answers for it. But this also, anybody who's Googling that questionnaire has found my site now because I answered all of the questions. So everything that I write on my site is to bring in potential clients, but also to educate anyone who's maybe on the fence about booking me or my existing clients to give them a better educational experience. I do not put pricing on my website. There are arguments for both sides. The yes, do it side is that it's clear and transparent. There are no questions. You can click on pricing and see everything that you need. People want it. People want to know what they could expect to spend if they hire me. You won't waste your time with tire kickers. And let's be honest, people want it. They want to know what something's going to cost. But I don't do it. And I've experimented with it and I've stopped. And the reason being is because my weddings are kind of different. Sometimes they're in New York. Sometimes they're in New Jersey. Sometimes they're in the Berkshires, which is like anywhere from 3 to 10 hours away, depending on the holiday weekend. And I might have to stay in a hotel, but then maybe it's the Hamptons, but Hamptons on off season is kind of different than Hamptons on season, which is like a 1-night minimum versus a 2-night minimum. But what if I need to like get on a plane and then it's a destination? Do you see the issue here? I can't have like 7 different wedding photography price lists up there because then people are going to get super confused. What about unique jobs? What if it is an Indian wedding and they want 1 day of coverage or 2 or 4? Then it's starting to get confusing for people to see all of these different price lists on my website, and that is not a service to them. That actually makes life harder for them. And I also have a decent conversion rate with people who come in with low initial budgets. And I know what people's budgets are because I straight out ask it on my contact form. One of the questions on my contact form is like, can you let me know your budget for photography? And there's like $1,000 or under, you know, $1,000 to $2,000, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, above 5, and we don't know yet, which is a great thing for people who just maybe don't want to tell me or don't know yet. And I have people come in and say, my budget is $2,000. It is hard and fast $2,000. But then I talk to them and I educate them, and they realize that maybe the budget that they had allocated is not going to get them what they want. So they up their budget and they end up hiring me. This isn't every wedding, but it's definitely enough that if I put my pricing out there and someone at that budget range saw the pricing, they would have been really not likely to click on contact and contact me, because they would automatically be like, you know, I don't think I can afford this. But if someone inquires with me and I send them through my email inquiry series of emails and we get on the phone and we talk to each other, sometimes it works out. So there are arguments for and against putting your pricing on your website, but I just choose to not. I don't even have a price range. There's a pricing and packages page on my site. It describes what my pricing is like and what you can expect to get. And then I say, for a detailed quote for your specific event, just contact me. Number 2, the second way that people find me is word of mouth. Good old-fashioned word of mouth. And the way to make good word of mouth work is to just be nice to people. Be nice to everyone. Be nice to the person that you washed your hands with in the bathroom 5 minutes ago. Be nice to the wedding planner, the florist, everybody. If you lead like with your heart, if you are a kind, good person that puts kind, good things out in the world, people like you and they want to work with you. And they'll want to work with you again. Not because your work is great, which, I mean, it has to be, and not because you deliver quickly to clients or any of those things, but when you are like a light in the world, people want that around you. So I have found that literally just by being a happier, kinder, sweeter, and more open person, more people want to work with me. It's amazing how that goes. So I take care of all of the vendors that I work with in a very, very, very caring and careful way post-event. I make sure that I stay in touch with them. I send them vendor galleries. I have an automated email the week after my clients get their gallery, the vendors get the gallery. The end. Whether you're the florist or the dress designer or the venue, if I have contact info for you, you're going to get the gallery. Tag them on Instagram. Everybody loves that. Everybody gets holiday cards. I love a holiday card. And then I stay active with them on Instagram and on social, and I make sure that I am actually cultivating a relationship with them. Not just being nice to them to try to get work, but being nice to them because I like them and because I want to work with them. No one is going to refer you if they don't like you. And I'm not going to hustle super hard to work with someone that I didn't like working with. And talk to everyone. Tell everyone what you do. Everyone. And if you don't believe me, here are some examples. I wanted to start doing headshots. And I just didn't want to do any headshots. I wanted to start doing headshots and portrait work for the Broadway community. And that's a very specific ask. And that community is very tight. And they want to work with people they know. And no one knew me. So I went and saw a show. And I brought a business card, like the creeper that I am. And I went and stood in the stage door in the freezing cold. And I waited until my favorite ensemble member came outside, and I introduced myself to her, and I said, I'm a photographer, and I know that this sounds creepy, but if you'd ever like to collaborate, I'd like to work with you. And she was like, oh, okay, like, thank you so much, that's great, because I was a creeper at the stage door, I totally understand that. But she took my card, and she emailed me the next day, because I knew that if she looked at my site, she would realize I was legit. And she did. She looked at my site. She emailed me. We set up a creative shoot. I had a concept I wanted to work on. We worked on it together. She told her friends. Some of them wanted to work with me. It turned into a great personal project. And then I took my kids to the show, and she was like, come backstage. Like, we'll show your kids around. It'll be great. And there was someone else I really wanted to work with. And I was like, I'm just going to go straight up to him and tell him I like his work and tell him I want to work with him. And my friends were like, what? And I was like, no, I'm just going to do this. Of course, I'm hyperventilating because I'm not that cool. And I went straight up to him, and I was like, hey, I really love your work, like, and said some really nice things about his work. I'd really love to work with you. If you ever need a photographer, I'd love to work with you. I've now shot for both of his albums and some of his promotional stuff. And all of that has led to a headshot business that is now 15% of my income every single year, and trust within a community that did not know me to begin with. I was on a flight to Imaging USA about 6 weeks ago, and it was a terrible flight. It was like super turbulent. It was awful. We were all like throwing up. And I started talking to my seatmate, and, oh, what do you do? And what do you do? And I was like, oh, I'm a photographer. And I always say, oh, I'm a photographer. And people always think like, oh, you shoot newborns, or like, they don't know what professional photographer really means. And I'm like, well, what do you do? And she's like, oh, I'm the president of Actors Equity Association. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. And I have made connections through someone that I opened up my mouth and talked to on a plane that has led to work. I got a flat tire on the way to a rehearsal dinner with my assistant, and a really nice guy stopped, helped us jack up the car, and booked me to shoot his wedding. Because he said, where are y'all going? And I said, I'm going to a rehearsal dinner. I'm a wedding photographer. And he said, I just got engaged. And I said, did you? The woman who cuts my hair, I shot her brother's wedding. I've shot a bunch of her clients' weddings. Be a nice person to everyone in your life. Tell them all what you do and how much you love what you do. And it generates word of mouth for you that goes way beyond, just other wedding vendors you've worked for. I'm doing great on time. This is great. Talking so fast. And make friends in our industry. I refer weddings to my friends. My friends refer weddings to me. We are a network for each other. That's why these conventions are amazing. I can track every single dear, amazing, incredible friend that I have in my life back to meeting them at a convention somewhere. And sometimes it was just saying, hey, oh my gosh, yeah, it's you. I love your work. Sometimes one of my best friends in the whole world, I got sat next to at dinner. You never know. So just, I guess if my overarching rule for good marketing is be a good human that people want to be around. Maybe smell good. I don't know. Network with everybody. It means putting on pants. It means leaving your house. I'm sorry to say it. Networking can't just be commenting on Instagram. You have to get out in the world and actually make friends with people. But speaking of Instagram, the number 3 way, let's try that again. The number 3 way that I book new clients is actually by Instagram. So I'm trying to delicately drink water around the microphone in front of my face. So when you are getting set up on Instagram, I have spent years figuring out how this ever-changing social media platform works. And the thing that I keep hearing from people is like, it's the algorithm. You have to beat the algorithm. The algorithm isn't a thing. The algorithm is just Instagram continually trying to figure out what people want to see. They're not out to hurt you or get you. They just want to make sure that the end user are seeing the images that they want to see. So they're constantly trying to figure out, when you post something, how quickly are people liking it? How quickly are they commenting on it? Are they sharing it with other people? Are they saving your posts? Those are the big 4. Likes and comments are obvious, but shares and saves are also super, super important. And as your account keeps growing with likes and comments and shares and saves, Instagram goes, ooh, this is stuff that people want to see. So we're going to show more of this stuff to people who are looking for that stuff, right? It's exhausting, but I really love it. So I try to keep my profile optimized. I just changed my profile picture for like the first time in 2 years. But I want people who hit my Instagram profile to know exactly who I am, exactly what I do, in a way that answers some of their questions right away. Because if someone's floating around for a photographer on Instagram and they're just looking for maybe somebody who shot at a venue before, or they're like found me through a geotag hunt or something like that, and they go to my profile page, I want them to know what I do right away. First of all, I'm a photographer. I shoot weddings and portraits in New York and beyond. That is true. Things about me that are super cool that not a lot of other people have. I have Canon Explorer of Light and WPPI Grandmaster. I also founded an educational resource. That means automatically, if I have an educational resource, I must be someone that people in my industry trust and look to for information. And I've broken up each line with emojis, which I don't like because I am over the age of 40 and think that they are weird. But it breaks up the visual interest of your scroll by having these emojis that mark each line. And then I tell them straight up what I want them to do. I want you to get in touch with me, and here is a big arrow to tell you how to do it. Because my goal is to get you off of Instagram and onto my website. So underneath, you might see, get in touch. It says susanstripling.com/start-here. A lot of people use things like Linktree. I don't use Linktree. I actually have a hidden page on my website that is susanstripling.com/start here. And that's so that I can directly track how many people are coming to my site from Instagram. So when I look at my Google Analytics, the only place this page exists is in my Instagram profile. And when you click on that on your mobile device, this is what you see. And it's kind of a choose your own adventure. Do you want to go to my site or read my blog or find out about workshops or go to the wedding school or join my community or learn more about me or get in touch? And all of these links just take you to that place on my website. So I tried to make Linktree work for me. It didn't really work for me. This works for me better, and I can track this. The other thing you need to do so that you can understand how to make Instagram work for you is you've got to start looking at your analytics. And pro tip, you can only look at these types of analytics if you are a business account. So if you are a personal account and you are running a business from a personal account, switch it over. No, it's not going to decrease your reach and all of those crazy urban legends that people will give you. You're going to be fine. But the first thing I want you to start looking at are your post analytics. And that's for every single individual post. If you're looking through your feed and you see a little line underneath one of your posts, just swipe up. And it will show you, for example, this post, it was liked by 1,556 people. It had 13 comments. 4 people shared it with somebody else. And 54 people saved it somewhere. I can look at this information and I can compare it post by post to see what's resonating with people. And when I know what's really resonating with people, I can understand a little bit better about what to share. I can also then go deeper into the post insights, and it can tell me how many people then went to my profile from this, how many people found this from the hashtags that I used. So all of this is just helpful info to start seeing what's doing well on Instagram. And the thing about Instagram is I don't care how many followers I have. I don't care how many people like my posts. I don't care how many people comment. I care how many clients find me and then contact me. I had someone ask me in my masterclass the other day, they're like, well, it's easy for you. You have over 100,000 followers. And I was like, actually, this is making it harder for me because people are starting to contact me less through Instagram because they think I'm too expensive because I have a high profile account. So it's starting to work against me. It's great. I'm really loving that. But you can also, from your settings, and you can look at your insights, you can derive a lot of information from looking at these insights. You can look at your feed posts and see which ones are doing well. You can see how many people are visiting your profile, how many people are clicking on your website. Why in the world did one person click on call me? Who calls anybody anymore? I know, I just wish everyone would just email me. Just phone calls should not be a thing unless it's my mom or my kids. That's about it. And to be perfectly honest, I get so much spam. Those are the only real people who actually call me. When my friends call me, I answer the phone and say, what's wrong? As you dig in through your insights, you can just learn so much information. I can learn how many accounts I'm reaching. I can learn that 60% of the people that look at my Instagram are guys. I can look at how it's growing throughout the days. The most important part for me with all of this is to see when my followers are active. So I can tell you that most of the people who follow my Instagram look at it around about noon. Okay. What does that help me do, though? It helps me know maybe don't post stuff at 3 o'clock in the morning. That if I want it to get in front of the maximum number of eyes, I need to share it at noon, if that makes sense. I do not track who follows and unfollows me. Do you know what that will make you do? It will make you be crazy and insecure. So don't do it. It doesn't matter. If someone wants to stop looking at your work, there could be 500 reasons that they do, and you can't let any of those bother you. I don't use any apps to tell me who unfollows me. It'll just make me nuts. And at the end of the day, do you really want people following you who don't want to look at your content? You don't. So what do I post? I tend to post dramatic portraits, good moments, theatrical details. And I know that some of these resonate super well with Instagram and some of them don't. I can tell you that Instagram doesn't like details. And I can tell you that Instagram does not like large scenic images with really little silhouetted people. Instagram wants you to see human beings. So when I post something that has a face or a visible face or a super close-up face, it gets pushed out to more people right away, and I can tell because I can tell how many people are reacting to it. But if I only show what Instagram wants me to show people, then I'm not entirely showing people what I want them to see. So I'll post things knowing full well that Instagram is going to like them, but then I will also post things like this that get less reach, that get less likes and comments. But when you look through my feed, you see more of me. And I post it at noon. I care when I'm looking at my Instagram feed. I care about mixing up color and black and white. I don't want a million color images in a row and then like a million black and white images in a row. I care about mixing up content. So if I post a portrait one day, I might post a detail the next day and then a moment the next day. And I care about posting consistently. And for me, consistently is about 5 times a week. Things I don't care about. I don't care about a cohesive feed color scheme. I only have so many hours in the day. This cannot be something I care about because my work is not a consistent color scheme. All of my events are different. So I want to showcase all of that. I don't care about what other people are posting. I'm not basing my content on what my competition is sharing. And I don't care about my like count. I actually really wish they'd get rid of it. And I know they're experimenting with it. They just can't experiment quite fast enough. When you're writing captions, use your captions to educate people. You can tell a story about the day. You can talk about how you made the image. You can talk about something funny. You can give tips and tricks on how to make getting images like that one easier. Like, for example, nighttime portraits. This is an image that was made on a rooftop during a wedding reception. If you would like images on rooftops at your wedding reception, we're going to have to step out of the reception. A good time to do this might be blah, 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 blah. It is educational content while also being interesting. Give info to current and potential clients. This is another opportunity to become a trusted resource. Trusted expert with your words and wisdom. And then just be a human. Like I posted an image not long ago that was like a beautiful couple and like it's clearly shot through like a fiery, well-lit sunset. Like it was like an ice crevasse in Iceland. It was awesome. It was like the wedding dream. It was them, a friend of theirs, and me, and that was the whole wedding. And it was like the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And when I was taking that image, I kept jamming myself further and further back into this crack of ice until I actually got stuck. My gear got stuck, my harness got stuck, and they had to come like chip me out and get me out of it. And I told that story in the caption, which makes me seem like a real person. So you have to be a real human to your clients. So don't discount the ability to be human in your captions. Don't forget to geotag. Tell Instagram where you took the picture, but don't lie about it because Instagram is not dumb. And if you shot at the Holiday Inn in Times Square, don't say that it was the St. Regis because Instagram knows that it wasn't. And then hashtags. This is the big question that everybody has. I actually do have a thought process around the hashtags that I use. So I use venue-based hashtags, and those are pretty easy. Like, let's say I'm shooting somewhere called the Park Savoy wedding, Park Savoy wedding photographer. A prospective client who's getting married there, who's looking for a photographer, that's what they're going to type into the search bar in Instagram. Geographic-based ones. What is this? What are we even actually looking at, right? And then what else? And let me give you an example. So let's say I shot a wedding at Oheka Castle, which is a popular venue in Long Island. The first two, which are venue-based, could be Oheka Wedding and Oheka Wedding Photographer, because that's what people are going to go look for when they're hunting for a photographer in these locations. Then we're in New York, and we're in Long Island. So NYC Wedding Photographer, Long Island Wedding Photographer. All things that people could be looking for. And then let's say it was a picture of a ceremony indoors in the winter. So you have winter wedding, New York Castle wedding, Long Island Castle wedding, winter wedding ceremony, and maybe winter wedding inspiration. And then I use the last little bit to fill in any other info that I want people to have. Like, let's say I shot it with the EOS R with the 50mm 1.2, and I used a MagMod MagSphere, and then I used my specific Hello Develop preset. I'm going to use all of those hashtags. And then you combine them all together. You only get up to 30, but this is what I'm going to use. And a few tips on hashtags. I put them in the first comment. I don't put them in my caption. When I put them in my caption, it looks spammy, and I don't like that. Once you have posted, go through the hashtags that you used one at a time. Go to recent. Like if you click on a hashtag, you can pick on like recent and top. Go to recent and see who has posted things using that hashtag recently. It could help you find other vendors in your area. It could help you find other creatives that you want to collaborate with. Because if I just posted something that says NYC wedding, maybe my favorite wedding planner just posted something too and I have an opportunity to comment. Or maybe it's a calligrapher that I've never worked with. These things give you opportunities to find colleagues and people that might inspire you or that you could work with who are sharing relevant content similar to yours. And again, don't go crazy and don't go overboard. Instagram can eat your life if you let it. Don't let it. When I post something, I give myself about 20 minutes to hang out, to engage, to respond to comments, because those first 20 minutes are the most crucial for Instagram to figure out how many more people they want to push the image to. So what happens is you post something and Instagram shows the image to a small selection of your followers. And then based on how those followers react to it, it decides how much more it wants to show it to people. So if you post something and it gets a ton of likes and shares and comments and saves right away, Instagram is like, oh my gosh, this is hugely relevant content that this person's followers love. We need to show it to more of their followers. Likewise, if you don't get a lot of engagement right away, Instagram goes, okay, I mean, like this isn't super relevant content to this person's followers, so we're not going to bug them with it. So that's why I hang out for about 20 minutes encouraging comments, responding back, getting dialogue started. And then I walk away, go back to my business and live my life, because you could spend all day sitting on Instagram and you should not do that. I don't really look at what my competition does. I don't really look at what other vendors do at all, because my content needs to be unique to me and only me, and not other photographers and not what they're doing. Because if I'm looking at what other people are doing, I'm looking to them to lead me. And I don't want them to lead me, even subconsciously. I want to post the content that moves me and hope that that will move my viewers as well. And if I'm obsessing with what other vendors are doing and what my competition is doing, then I'm starting to second guess myself. So the way my posting workflow works is I gather all Instagram names before I even go to a wedding at all. I send out a wedding day worksheet about 6 weeks in advance of the wedding, and I ask people as part of that worksheet, who are your vendors? Who's your florist? Where's your venue? Who's your coordinator? Who designed your dress? Who designed your suit? And they can fill in as many or as few as they want. The morning of the wedding, I have my CRM, which is called Tave, and if you do not use Tave, they're over there. You should go say hi. It emails me a list of all of these people and their Instagram names. So I know exactly who's going to be at the event. And as the day goes by, if I see other vendors that are not on that list, I can just add them to the list. Super easy. So when I get home after a wedding, I download, I back up, I cull, and I choose my images to post on Instagram while I'm culling the wedding. I cull every single wedding the same night of the wedding. Hands down, non-negotiably, I don't care what time I get home. It could be 11 o'clock. It could be 1 o'clock. I come home, I download my cards, I set them to back up, I take a shower, I grab a tasty beverage of my choice, and I sit down and I start culling. And the reason why I do this is because the event will never be fresher in my mind than the night that I shot it. And I used to go from like 2 to 2.5 hours culling a wedding to about 45 minutes max. It goes so much faster when it's fresh. And I'm choosing my keepers, and I'm also choosing my social media images at the same time. I prep all of my posts from one wedding, and it's usually 5 to 10 images. I prep them all at one time, and I use a program called Later. Later does not post for me, but it lets me create a library of posts that I can access and manually post later. I write my captions, and then I tag and add my vendors and my subjects. I write down all of my vendors and subjects in the caption, and then I also tag them in the image. I geotag the venue location, and hashtags go in my first comment, and then I babysit the post for about 20 hot minutes. And then I walk away, and I do not obsess. Another thing that I've been using a lot lately are my Instagram stories. What I do with Instagram stories is I share behind the scenes at events. When I'm looking at a rule, professional images go in my feed. Anything I shot with my phone goes in my stories. I share behind the scenes at events. I share a bit about my life, which is not super exciting, so I don't do that much. I share befores and afters of things that I edit. And then if I have favorite stories that I tend to share over and over and over again, I'll save them as highlights so that I can keep adding to it. I'll share client reviews. Like, there are so many things that you can share in your stories. I use stories kind of like Snapchat, which I don't use because I'm old. I don't see any reason to use Snapchat in my business, but I do really like that sort of phone point of view. And so that's what I use my stories for. I think my stories today are like pictures of me and my friend Emily walking around in the casino, and like a picture of a cookie, and like it's just little behind the scenes snippets of my life that I know are going to disappear in 24 hours, and I'm fine with that. Just share. I guarantee if you don't think it's interesting, someone else will. I have 125 plants in my living room. I did not think that was that interesting. I posted it on Instagram one time, and that's one of the things people comment about the absolute most is tell me about your plants. And I'm like, really? Plants, my dog, New York, the shows I go see, anything that makes you, you, and a human and gives a little bit of a glimpse into the person behind the business, that's what I use stories for. And pro tip, don't make your stories look too slick or they start to look like ads. I used to do these really highly detailed animated Instagram stories. And one of my friend's sisters was like, you need to stop doing that. And I noticed people weren't really looking at them. They'd look at the first two and then they'd swipe away from my stories. And I was like, why is nobody looking at these? And she's like, I look at them for 2 seconds and they look like an ad. And I was like, ooh, that's not what you use stories for. So Instagram is social. It is a social platform. You have to be social. Comment, like, talk to other people. But you also then have to take it into the real life. Much with everything else in the world, you can't just hide behind your computer screen all the time. The relationships that you build on social media need to extend into the real world. So at some point, you have to get up from behind the computer and phone, put on real pants, and go outside and people. But remember, you also have to be a crazy good human that people want to work with. So hopefully this gave you a little bit of an insight into how I use my website, word of mouth, and Instagram to get clients into my business. If you have any other questions, I am at Susan Stripling Photography on Instagram. Feel free to message me or tag me or whatever causes you joy. Just don't call me because I'll probably think you're spam and send you to voicemail. All right, I hope you guys have a good time, and I'll see you back tomorrow.